Pleased to be joined by MMA legend Bas Rutten. Bas, thanks for joining me, mate. You're a legend of Asian MMA. You started in Japan. Can you paint a little bit of a picture of what that was like back then? Because I feel like a lot of fighters have that on their bucket list, on almost their holy grail that, oh, I have to fight in Japan one day, but you got to do it from the outset. So what was that like?
It was the most insane thing ever. You have to understand, like, when we go on a vacation with the family, we drive by car. I mean, Paris is a 4-hour car ride from where I used to live. So I'd never been on a plane. Now suddenly I'm on a 13-hour plane ride going in Japan. I'm from Holland. Everything is tiny cars, tiny this. And there suddenly, boom. I mean, it's like being in New York in the freaking Madison Square Garden. Big buildings, freeways that go through the city of Tokyo, going through these old temples, those shrines, the Asakusa shrine in Tokyo, with these badass things about food, the samurai and the Bushido, where the way of the warrior. Everything was born in Japan, and every fighters love that. You know, Miyamoto Musashi, greatest swordsman ever. You know, great book writer as well. So for me to go to Japan and suddenly, stand there, it was the craziest experience ever. I had a really cool video. I remember that I was staying at the Tokyo Green Hotel. Now, if you ever go to Japan, and there's the Tokyo Dome Hotel now. That wasn't there at the time in '93. Tokyo Green Hotel is across the Tokyo Dome Hotel. It's a little tiny hotel. I made a picture of, this was my closet. I put my hands, that's how wide my closet was. I made a picture of it. I could hang 4 shirts in there. That was it. My feet were sticking out of the bed. So that was my first hotel room. And then many years later, I started fighting, started to become more known in Japan. And suddenly I started doing pro wrestling. After my career, I did pro wrestling for New Japan. And now the Tokyo Dome Hotel was there, and we were staying there. And I remember making a video. I said, this was the hotel I was staying. And I said, and this, I said, that's the hotel where I'm staying now. Needless to say, I did something right. I climbed up the ladder slowly but surely, and eventually was there. But yeah, I was there fighting for $2,000, 2,000 guilders. 2,000 guilders, like $1,000. And that was my first fight. So people go, oh, you already made a lot of money. No, I made $1,000, and the trip, and you have to pay things from it, and your manager, and it was not a lot of money. But once you start winning, you can start demanding things. I remember going to 4,000, 4.5, 6, 8, and suddenly, I kept winning. Then that's when good money started coming in.
Do you still keep an eye on Asian MMA and Japanese MMA with promotions like Rising? Pancrase still going, Shuto's still going. One championship have been over there in Japan as well. Do you like to keep an eye on things?
Yeah, we keep an eye on these things. And we actually started, Guy Metzger and myself are all included. We have this big group of guys, even George Burnett, that we're going to start a Pancrase organization here now in Japan. And we want to do the same rules. People can always talk about those rules. They say, oh, there was weird rules. And, with rope escapes, it's like pro wrestling. Yeah, that's why some people thought it was fixed, because it looked like pro wrestling, but it wasn't like pro wrestling. Now we go back. We have 6, 7, maybe 8 UFC champions coming from Pancrase. That's a little tiny organization, and they all became UFC champion. Why do you think that was? And I'm telling you, it's because of that rule. Because I have 15 submission victories, but if you look at my record, I submitted 43 people. Because if I had him in a submission and he could touch the rope, I had to let him go. Now, guess what? Normally, this fight would have been over. I would have won the fight. Not now. He touched the rope, let go. He's got the minus, like a red card, the same takeaway that you have as a red card. You stand back both on your feet. Now you fight again. So sometimes you fought. I had a guy one time, I fought 30 minutes, and I had to submit him 5 times. 5 times is the maximum amount of submissions, like a 3 knockdown rule, 5 times. And I submitted him 5 times. So in one fight, I kind of fought 5 fights because I won 5 times by submission. So we were spending so much time in that ring. Now you're also strategical got to be starting thinking different. Because if I'm in the middle and I say, oh man, I can reverse him, let's sling him to the middle a little bit, I can reverse him. But then again, if I miss the reversal and now he's on top of me in the center of the ring, I can touch him. You see, you become more strategical with thinking. And I think that helped a lot of these Pancrase guys. And that's why they had so much ring time. They were constantly fighting. Oh, rope escape, back on your feet. Oh, we have another fight. You see, so that's what I liked about Pancrase. And I think people will enjoy that. It's a different game. Don't see it then as mixed martial arts. I always said, as long as I don't grab the rope, as long as I never do it, which I did twice, I believe, in my 28 years, then I would have never lost for real, because I would always act it as a real fight. So if I had to touch the rope, well, officially I would have lost. If I wouldn't have let him touch the rope first. You see what I mean? So that was always in my mind, and that was the mindset going in, and I believe that it helped a lot of fighters.
What was the highlight for you fighting in Japan, do you think, looking back?
Um, Oh my, yeah, of course, getting the title was really cool. The Budokan. I mean, I watched fights all the way back. Kings of the Square Ring. This is a very old documentary. Or Betty the Jet, man, what a freaking animal that guy was. You know, when he was fighting, and such a his back kicks to the body is so sick. I mean, you can hear it impacting and people just crumbling, like the Fujiwara, the best freaking Japanese fighters, just crumbled. You know, and there was also this fight between Ali and Inoki, and it was considered the first MMA event actually, and it was a big thing, and it was in the Nippon Budokan, and I was watching that when I was 17 years old, and not realizing that many years later, Chief Trick, I want you to want me. That's the Nippon Budokan, also live at the Nippon Budokan. You know, so it was a famous place, and to fight there and then to defend my world title in there, that was really cool for me. You know, that really got me. And the sumo arena, it's also a very special place. You get all these giant sumos, big paintings of sumos at the walls. Like I'm thinking giant, you know, and the way the dressing rooms are with all different kinds of jacuzzis, like 90 degrees, 100 degrees, 120 degrees, whatever it is, you know, it's super freaking hot, you know, going. They have these big oak poles, those trunks, tree trunks there. And everywhere you see all dents in there because they've been hitting them. Boom, boom, boom. They were talking about oak freaking things. And then you see them all with dents in there from their palms, from these guys over and over. Going to Japan, I was invited by the number 3 sumo. It was a big boss fan. He came to all my fights, a lot of my fights. He would watch. And he invited me to go to the dojo. I said, dude, I would love to come, but can I bring the fighters too? Because we've never seen that. And the first thing that blew my mind was when we opened the door, we had to go 5 or 6 stories up. This guy in front of me is close to 400 pounds. And he says, oh, follow me. And we were like 5 fighters. And he starts running up the stairs. I think we were more out of breath than that guy was. Five flights of stairs up. Boom, 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 boom. But these guys did that every day. Then you go into the training. You go, oh, there's just fat guys. No, they're not fat guys. Their legs are freaking massive. There's 0 fat on their legs. Completely sick. Then they have this thing that when you step onto the dojo mat, it's this high. And there's this tree, like a tree trunk lays in there. And before they go up, they kick against that tree trunk. And it's smooth, of course, so it doesn't go over. And they don't go tick, 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 tick. They go bang, bang, bang. I mean, with their shins full against and then they start fighting. They train 5 hours a day. And then they go eat. They eat 4 hours a day. I was eating there and they gave me a bowl. It was this big of a bowl. I could eat 1. I said, how many can you eat? He says, 11. You know, and their food is healthy now because the life expectancy was like freaking 40 years old age because everybody got heart problems, you know, because they were just eating. Now it's all healthy food, a lot of fish, a lot of rice, a lot of healthy food. And they have to constantly eating. You know, those experiences, that's really cool to be. And the Asakusa Shrine, going over there, then being there while Peter Urs, where the K1 championships were there. Peter's a close friend of mine since I was 14 years old. We know each other, you know, and to go to his fights and then he coming to my fight. Actually, when I won the world title, he was there present because he was there also for the K1, you know, and I overheard him shout at me, you know, those are really cool moments that you always take home with you. My first fight, I remember knocked the guy out 43 seconds. And the next day, people, like 1 in 10 people started bowing to me on the street. And I had no clue what was going on. So suddenly they start bowing. I go, what's? And then I saw a newspaper magazine, a stand. And on one of the newspapers, that was me hanging in the air in my splits because that victory jump, which I didn't even know that I did. I was just so freaking happy. I just jumped in all the corners of the ring in the splits. And that became my trademark suddenly, the Rutten jump. And one of these pictures, you saw me hanging in the air. And then below me was my opponent was knocked out. And that picture was on the front page of a newspaper. And that's how the people knew who I was. It was so crazy. You know, people start talking to me in the subway, and old people. I mean, we're talking about 70-year-old people who suddenly I'm sitting and they stand up and they come and they sit next to you and says, oh, you're a fighter, Mr. Rutten. And they start, and they really enjoy fighting. I mean, it was, you know, I love that. The way people are, they're so honest. You know, you can put your phone there. Every fighter will tell you the same story because we all did it once. We left our wallet or we left our phone or we left something in the restaurant and they're all freak out. And everybody who's been there for a while go, don't freak out. 100% guarantee it's there. they will never steal it. If it's stolen by a foreigner. But a Japanese person will never steal it. And then you go back 2 hours later, and there's your wallet at the same spot. They actually guard it also. You see, and I really enjoyed it. As a woman there you can go out and you don't have to worry. Now, of course, in Roppongi, there's a lot of foreigners. Watch out there, because if there's stress, it's always the foreigners. You know, that's how it is. If there's drugs, it's always the foreigners. Now, I'm not saying that the Japanese aren't doing it, but if it's selling, yeah, those are most of the time. It's the foreigners, not the Japanese, not the Yakuza. The Yakuza, that's peanuts. They don't do it. They're real estate. They're on different projects. You see what I mean? But they kind of help the people on the street. We've seen freaking a guy suddenly surrounded with 5 little Japanese guys with machine guns, you know, and you're getting very well like, oh, shit, I never want to be in that position. You know, he probably did something really wrong. And then, well, they did. Once you have the Yakuza on your neck, yeah, that is not a good thing there. But like, again, you know, they don't do the petty crimes. They're into the big business, drugs and all that stuff. They don't do it.